November, and we are just about at the 50th anniversary of the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which happened right out here in 1975.
Only we're 300 miles away from the wreck site. We're not even on the same lake. We're down in Milwaukee Harbor at the bottom of Lake Michigan because this place has a greater significance to the Edmund Fitzgerald than almost anything else that other states can claim. This city is where the Edmund Fitzgerald called home, after all. And without a few key players in the city, we wouldn't have a ship, we wouldn't have an Edmund Fitzgerald. Without those two things, we wouldn't have the greatest dramatic ballad that's ever been written about the Great Lakes in history. What started as a tragedy in 1975 soon shot to stardom due to the influence of Gordon Lightfoot's famous song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. People have started using the tale as inspiration for Halloween costumes. There's plenty of memes and merchandise out there. Even a beer has been named after the Edmund Fitzgerald. The song and the ship has become such a part of our culture that's completely eclipsed the name and the real legacy of the man with whom it was named after, and what other connections that it does have to some other cities, like Milwaukee, that really weren't mentioned in Gordon Lightfoot's song at all. So besides selling insurance and having your college friends cold call you about buying financial products, Northwestern Mutual is also invested in several other industries, notably the mining industry. They decided to increase that investment in the 50s by commissioning a series of ships to be made. One of them, which they would call the Edmund Fitzgerald. So the ship gets its name from the chairman of the board and president of Northwestern Mutual at the time. He had suggested several other names like the Milwaukee, the Northwestern, the Centennial, but the board definitely had the foresight of knowing that there would be a ballad written about this ship, and Milwaukee and Centennial just don't have the same ring to it that Edmund Fitzgerald does. They voted him down unanimously, and the ship's name stuck. So it's not completely unprecedented or without merit that Edmund Fitzgerald would have a ship named after him. His grandfather was a ship captain on the Great Lakes, and he had a ship named after him as well. His great uncles all served. His father was the head of a shipyard in Milwaukee as well. And Edmund Fitzgerald was actually the third person in his family to have a ship named after him on the Great Lakes. In fact, when the Edmund Fitzgerald was christened and launched, the grandfather ship, the W.E. Fitzgerald, sailed by that afternoon. So the hull was finished in 1958. It was christened soon after that by Elizabeth Fitzgerald, Edmund's wife, but it took her 3 tries to break the champagne bottle on the ship's bow. It's usually a sign of pretty bad luck. It's a bad omen for the life of the ship. If that wasn't bad enough, a man in the audience had a heart attack and died right there on the docks after the ship was launched. In fact, it was such a bad omen that the ship had a prestigious 17-year career with 748 round trips, perfect safety records, cargo and speed records broken, until November 10th, 1975, when that bad luck finally caught up.
But the christening made the name of the ship official, and also made sure that the name Milwaukee would be placed on the stern to show everybody where she called home.
But the Edmund Fitzgerald only stopped in Milwaukee one time, and that was in 1959. There was a steelworkers strike going on, and there wasn't really any steel production happening, so the ship wasn't needed for the time being. It was moored right up over here, and it was sort of a homecoming celebration for the ship. People could come on board and take a tour of the cavernous cargo spaces, the nice cabins where the VIPs and other tourists could pay a fee to travel around the Great Lakes on. After that, never visited home again. And we're back at headquarters. Northwestern Mutual was also the insurer of the Edmund Fitzgerald, so they were the beneficiaries of whatever happened and whatever payout there was after the ship sank. I'm not sure what exactly that entailed of. I haven't read through all the insurance reports and all those things, but it's definitely something worth looking into. As far as the victims though, the insurance payout was between the operator, Ogilvy Norton, and there were some conflicting amounts as far as how much people got for that. Some range from like $20,000 all the way up to $250,000 in the 1970s monies. Also, due to some of the weird intricacies of salvage law and how marine shipping works, Northwestern Mutual still owns the shipwreck. It's not just Northwestern Mutual that's the big connection. It's not just that Milwaukee is the home port, but it was the home of several members of the crew that night as well. People that had served a long shipping career on the Great Lakes, doing their jobs well, and some of their family members are still around. So it was 50 years ago. It seems a long time, especially if you were not around then, but it was definitely still in the memories and still a tragedy to a lot of people who still lost relatives that day. I know some of the victims family members are buried in the cemetery by my house. The children of some of them are still alive and are definitely around in Milwaukee as well. So it wasn't that long ago. It's still affecting a lot of people, and it is very much a part of Milwaukee's history here. But there's definitely a physical connection here. I'm at Forest Home Cemetery, and if you're looking for something a little bit more tangible, since you can't see a shipwreck down at the bottom of the ocean, but if you want to see something a little bit closer that's in town, we're going to stop by the grave today. That kind of brings it all into one spot here, brings it back around. So here we go, right over here. We're just go check it out.
And there we have it, the gravesite of Mr. Edmund Fitzgerald, the namesake of the ship that would go on to greater and deeper fame than anybody could have possibly imagined when its idea was first conceived of in the Northwestern Mutual boardroom. I find it a little strange standing here and looking at this gravesite when there is a matching name emblazoned on a ship down at the bottom of Lake Superior. Kind of strange. It feels like you're almost looking at the same piece of the soul, the same piece of the puzzle, as something that has meant to so much to a lot of people and has become such a huge part of the culture here in the Great Lakes over the last few years. If you're interested in looking at more about the Edmund Fitzgerald, there's a little exhibit going on at the Groman Museum at the MSOE campus right now until the beginning of December. There's a few images, some paintings, and a model of the ship, as well as a couple more descriptions on how the ship connects to the city and how it connected and ties into Great Lakes shipping as a whole. It'll definitely be worth your while.